Hello and welcome everyone, or welcome back. I'm Cathy Liska with the Center for Coaching Certification and with Coach 123.
Hello, I'm Pandora Ray, and I'm a member of the Coach 123 team with the Center for Coaching Certification.
And we are so excited about our guest today. Looking forward to all of you hearing. I think he's got a lot of good stuff to share. So this is going to be awesome. Kirby, please introduce yourself.
Awesome. My name is Kirby Kirkpatrick, and I am a coach. I work with Coach 123 and a graduate of CCC from about 5 years ago. So I've had a wonderful experience building my business off that platform.
Awesome. Awesome. So Kirby, what drew you to become a coach through the Center for Coaching Certification?
When I was transitioning in that COVID window and trying to decide how I was going to set up a coaching business, I did a lot of research of ICF accredited coaching companies, what they offered, what their schedule was, and just kind of had a gut check feel of which one I felt like aligned with helping me create the type of coach I wanted to be. I had done some non-professional coaching prior to that, so I knew what I wanted to do as a coach, and I wanted to find one that had the opportunity for me to stagger up. I really wasn't familiar with the credentialing or ICF or how to join or all that stuff. And I really liked the way CCC allowed me to platform through the different courses one at a time. And then I could make a decision, get through the first 30 hours, then get through the next 30 hours before I decided what I wanted to do. So that was a really attractive point rather than dropping down a big chunk of coin and then decide maybe I didn't want to have that much training.
Okay.
Tell,
Awesome.
tell us about what it's like to work with a coaching provider. What's your perspective on what one is and what are the differences between them?
I've had the pleasure of working with several different coaching providers and kind of being in that subcontractor role. And one thing that's unique, maybe unique about my experience, it may not be for everybody, but I'm an entrepreneur and have been for over 20 years. I didn't leave corporate America with a lot of clients that I could then be building a coaching business off of. And so I didn't want to beat the pavement and do as much active selling and from my little rural town in West Central Indiana. So I have found that working with coaching providers allows me to have a business plan that still gives me room for my private clients, but doesn't have the pressure of filling my stable full of private clients. I can funnel in ones from groups like Coach 123 that give me that safety net and that security of some income coming in while I'm mastering my craft a little bit more, while I'm getting a more broad experience, getting access to clients in other parts of the country that I would never have access to here in Indiana where I'm based.
Yeah. So what's your experience with Coach 123?
I love working with Coach 123 because of the clarity of communication. When I'm talking to them, I'm talking to the decision makers. I'm talking to the process. Cathy, Pete, the whole team there is engaged in the growth of it. And so I can get the backgrounds of the clients. I can make sure that the visions of Coach 123 and myself are aligned in the prospect. That what they are presenting to their clients is something I can actually provide. I get the opportunity to choose of, we're throwing these out. These are going to be some potential hours needed. Do you have the time to do it? Do you want to engage before I get thrown into it? So there's a personal touch on it that doesn't exist in some of the more large funded huge companies like that, where I'm just a cog in the wheel, so to speak. And if I get something, I get something, and trying to get through anybody to get a problem solved is virtually impossible.
Wow. Okay. So what is the process?
Process is simple. And when Coach 123 has some clients lined up, they send out to their coaches. We've got 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8 that we're onboarding. This could be here's what the potential pay is. This is what your length of the agreement will be. Are you interested? We as coaches reply back that yes, we are, or no, right now in this season, we don't have time for it. And then to move on. Then the coaches that reply, their names are presented. 3 matches are presented to the potential client. They get to read our bios. They get to read a little bit about us. And if they choose, they can reach out and schedule a discovery call with us, a free one. We sit down over Zoom for 25, 30 minutes, 15, whatever it takes. Have that rapport building between the client and the potential coach, and then let them be in charge of choosing whether or not they go forward in the relationship. I've had the pleasure of coaching hundreds of people from all kinds of industries. And if there's one thing I can tell you, the fit between coach and client is hugely important. It's probably the single most important thing in determining if a coaching engagement is going to succeed. Because if there's not good rapport, good fit, good personality meshing, it won't work.
Yeah, yeah, excellent. And then talk more about the process when you are selected. What happens then?
Okay. So once we're selected as a sub, as someone working through the coaching provider, Coach 123 gives us and trusts us to do the scheduling ourselves. So I've got the luxury of just however I want to schedule with them, sending my booking link from my system. I happen to use Zoom Scheduler, so I can just send those links over, tell them, hey, schedule out your next so many sessions, get them on the calendar right now. Here's what will happen in terms of cancellations or rescheduling. I'm flexible in there. But it kind of really great because it allows me to keep the ball in my court of how we go about making those connections and building it. But yet gives the client the control over the when and the where. So during that discovery call, a lot of times the questions are, when do you hold your appointments? Is it evenings or is it afternoons? So we can cover that. I work during the day. I don't do evening coaching appointments. So there are clients that get kind of removed from that standpoint because they want an evening coach, which is great. That's perfect. With find a rapport that works for them. Then once the session is done, we on a monthly basis we report to Coach 123 what sessions we had, and kind of send them our version of a log or an invoice. And then when Coach 123 gets paid by the vendor, they pay us our share. And so it's pretty seamless and pretty clear. My biggest problem is remembering to tell Coach 123 I had a coaching appointment. So I had to create a system to put it on my calendar. Remember, don't forget to send Pete the information. But that's on me, and it should be.
Yeah, hence the reminder email from Pete. Okay, what sessions did you do this month?
How is the length of the engagement determined? The number of sessions and how long does it take?
You know, that is usually determined by Coach 123 and the large client, the organization. They set up those engagements. They set up how long it's going to take to it and create that outline. I have found that one of the blessings is some of these has had some fixed numbers of sessions, but as to when they get done has some flexibility to it, which I really, really like, because particularly one client that I'm working with right now, 2 times a month was great at the beginning, but they really that was too much for them. They really, between their work schedule and staying online, they needed to spread it out, which was absolutely fine with me. So, and it was fine with 123. It was fine with the client. Everybody was on board. So he's kind of doing more of a one a month schedule right now for him. And it's being very successful on the journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So share a success story.
Okay, so I've had one who really came into this wanting to build their leadership skills. They were new to the position, really new to having an internal drive to want to be a great leader and engage in that process of replicating themselves, sustainability of their position so that they could be in a position to move on. And so we had a lot of conversations early on about what kind of leader does he want to be? How does he want to engage it? How do they look at what they're doing and get outside of their own viewpoints and their own perspective to create a leadership style that engages across styles? And really had some great epiphanies of leading from an outward standpoint rather than their own personal experience, or even just who can they observe to create their leadership style, and helping them brainstorm that process. Who can they lean on? And it really flipped. I could see it flip in their brain when they went, okay, I can do this. I can be a leader, and I don't have to be a carbon copy, and I don't have to do it. I can find a way to blend all these into my own style and really engage with my staff and become really excited about developmental plans, which in corporate America is usually the big, I don't want to do those. But they've gotten very, very excited about it now that they've learned through self-discovery how vital it was in their own development. and how they could use some of that to affect the next generation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
Given your experience, Kirby, what recommendations do you have for people wanting to become a coach?
Well, I would say the first thing is ask yourself very clearly why. What is it about coaching that you want to do? If you want to tell people what to do, then this is not where you should go. If you want to help people unlock potential, it's a great avenue for it. I was actually visiting with a gentleman a couple of weekends ago, an event who was partnering with a coach, and he's not quite figured out himself how to coach. He said, I like to train. I like to go in front of the classroom and I like to teach a group, which resonates with me. I'm a professional development trainer as a background and a teacher as a background. He says, I just struggle in that one-on-one wanting to talk. And I'm like, well, then you got to understand them. Then don't worry about that. If you don't want to learn that skill, if you don't want to adapt that skill and you don't want to do it, then stay away from coaching. Funny part is he's also a pastor, so he does coaching skills all the time in what he does. And so I said, all you're doing is just translating that skill over to the business community. So think about that. And he's like, oh, wow. And that just unlocked in him maybe a potential for where coaching could be something that he could get excited about. So first question is, what do you want? How do you want to help people become better? Do you want to tell them? Do you want to mentor them? Or do you want to get in the weeds and really help unlock barriers and create systems co-create projects for them and help them figure out the direction for their future that they want to go. So motivation, I mean, that's a lot of words to distill down to what's your motivation? Why do you want to do it? And then the second thing is how do the research and figure out how you're going to engage in building your marketing and business plan as a coach. Do you have a ready stable of clients and you're going to be great? Just get the education, get the professional certifications and move on because you got your clients? Or is it something that you're going to need to build and you're going to need to build it part-time and you're going to need to look at coaching providers as a source for providing clients? There's so many ways to win as a coach in getting and building your business. And they're way better now than they were 10, 15 years ago when, 9 out of 10 coaches were broke coaches because they just said they were a coach and nobody called them because they didn't know how to position themselves in the marketplace. And now you can do it either with private clients or you can do it working with coaching providers, or like me, you can blend the two of those together.
It sounds like you love what you do.
Yeah.
I do. I really, really do. I love helping people achieve their maximum self. My personal mission plan is that I am a missionary, fighting mediocrity and converting the complacent to a life of excellence. And I believe that is whatever their excellence is. I'm not making that definition for them. If you're pump, well, this is kind of a dated statement, but if you pump gas, be the best darn gas pumper you possibly can because you love it. And helping people find that. Not necessarily feeling like they have to go work in their passion, but finding passion in their work.
Nice.
So turning the coin over, what are your recommendations for coaches that might want to be a part of a coaching provider entity?
I would say, start with the program that you're going to get your certifications through. Start there. Find one that has that avenue. Coach CCC and Coach 123's partnership is fantastic because when you go through CCC, you're going to have the opportunity to be engaged with that provider. And they're going to know you and you're going to know them and you're going to be able to find that alignment of vision in the process. And then after that, just get engaged with other coaches. Find out what other coaches are doing. Where are they working with coaching providers that are currently building their stable? Yes, I love working with Coach 2-3, but honestly, I'm engaged with 5 different providers. All of them provide me different types of clients and at different levels of clients and at different pay of the clients. And so I've got a great variety of that. Being self-employed for the last 25 years, I've always been really big on having my tentacles stretched way out so that you're never really, really struggling because there's always somebody providing something. And so as a new coach specifically, I would say, hey, do that because you can always say no. With these providers, you can always say, I don't have room on my roster right now. But get on their rosters so that when you have those inevitable ebbs and flows in your business, you're not trying to take on anything and everything. You can be authentic during that rapport building because you're not desperate for a client. Desperation does not help the client and it doesn't help you when you just really, really need to coach somebody, because that's when you'll be tempted to make poor ethical decisions because you're chasing funding your business. And you really want to remove that from it and say, you know what, I can tell this client, I don't think I'm a great coach for you because you don't need the client. And
Right.
that's when you can be a better coach.
Yeah, that's great. So knowing that you have 5 different coaching providers you're with, I'm going to ask you to talk a little bit about what you like around Coach 123 and the process there.
Great. I love Coach 123's access to the top. It is growing, but it is growing in a way that is keeping the coaches and the team very close in touch and close together. And so those conversations of, what is the voice that Coach 123 is presenting to this client, and how can I be part of that voice? What is the approach? The parts that I've learned in CCC that are important with different clients. Those are laid out in the front. So I love, again, it goes back to helping people succeed. And when I show up for Coach 123 and Coach 123's voice, and I can know what their voice is because I can talk to Cathy and I can talk to Pan and I can hear what that voice is, then it makes it so much easier for me, and it takes off that weirdness of trying to figure out what's going on. I just have to ask the question, I'm gonna get the answer.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah. And your opportunity with Coach 123 is because you're a graduate of the Center for Coaching Certification. So what does that tell you?
It tells me that the alignment of the way the CCC trains coaches and the way that it's being delivered to their clients is consistent and across the board. It's my other coaching providers. They're not doing their own schools. They're just coaching businesses. They're people who have started it. And so they have a tendency to pull coaches from all kinds of different backgrounds. And there is a difference in the way you're trained as a coach, depending upon which coach school you choose. They all follow ICF ethics if they are accredited, which is key. If you're going to look for somebody to train you as a coach, make sure they've got the ICF accreditation for their programming. But it's good to know that when I'm working with Coach 123, I know exactly what's expected of me. And I know exactly what my deliverable is. And again, like I said, I can go back and say, okay, this particular client, what is their outcomes? How do I use the voice of Coach 123 to help them achieve those outcomes? It's just easy.
Nice. So what are you gaining both personally and professionally through your work with both Center for Coaching Certification and Coach 123, actually?
Well, with CCC was great in the sense that it really gave words and processes to what I thought coaching was, and allowed me to kind of dig in to it. I'm an old wrestling coach in my background, and so that do this, why are you doing this? Repetition, had to be kind of reevaluated in the approach to coaching, and being kind of that entryway into the ICF code of ethics and the clarity of it, and what does coaching look like in the Wild West, and how do I build my personal model of coaching with a stable foundation that keeps me connected to the code of ethics. That was a great growth part. Working with Coach 123, the ability to meet with, again, have clients that are not necessarily someone I would coach otherwise. One of the questions people always ask when I first started I was going to do professionalized coaching was, what's your niche? And I'll be honest with you, I kind of view myself as a Renaissance man. I'm a high curiosity learner. I love teaching. I love learning about things. And so I don't like having a niche as a coach. I like to use coaching principles across industries, across positions, across roles, so that I can grow with the client while they're telling me, and I'm engaging in coming up with that next open-ended question for them. I'm having to really dig into things like tech and food services and financial services and all these industries. And I had one client at one point in time that was talking about in tech doing sprints. And I'm like, what is that? Tell me about sprints so that I can actually help you here. And I said, okay, wait, by the next time we're on, I'm going to be able to help you with this more. And I had to bought a book and read it so I could speak the language that she was speaking and really understand it. So I've grown so much professionally being an entrepreneur, solopreneur for so long. I now feel like I've got 3 lifetimes of working in corporate America just by engaging with my clients.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. So if you were going to share a message, I'm going to ask you for different people. Somebody who wants to be a coach, what do you want to tell them? Somebody who is choosing a school, somebody who is thinking about being a coaching provider. And then I also want to hear what recommendations you have for somebody who's looking for a coach.
Okay,
So
you're gonna have to repeat those as we go along. That was a lot.
That's okay. That is a lot. So start with somebody who's thinking about becoming a coach. What do you want to tell them?
Becoming a coach, when are you going to coach? Who are you going to coach? Why are you going to want to coach? Outline your purpose statement for being a coach and then outline your approach. That's the first thing. Second thing, do your due diligence on the schools. Research them, look into them, figure out which ones fit your timing, which ones fit your budget, which ones is going to help you get to where you're going to go. And they all have different approaches. They all have different price points. They all have different, it's like choosing college. I mean, it's just like choosing college. It's you can go to Harvard, you can go to junior college, you can go somewhere in between. You want to go to the one that when you look at it and go, you know what, that seems to check the most boxes for me. Because ultimately, as you remove out of that school, you're going to want to have connections from that school. You want to have a network to build on, and you're going to want to have experience that you can apply. But the farther you get from it, the school is less important. You just want to make sure you have that ICF thing. So if you want those first 2 years of your coaching to go really, really well, so your school is going to be vital in that. So think about it like you chose college.
And that's a tough one because there's around 2,000 schools, and every single one of them has completely different content in their training program.
Yeah.
So
yeah. One thing I did was I sat down with an existing coach. I had lunch or breakfast, I think it was, with an existing coach, and I said, "So tell me about who did you go through, and what was your guidelines to do it?" And she shared that experience with me. It's not the school I chose, but it allowed me. I said, "So what did you like about that school? What did you dislike about that school?" So it gave me some of those filters as I started to go through. Now, there is no way I could do that evaluation on all 2,000. So I found a couple of criteria, sorted on those, and then started looking closely. And I chose a list of 5 or 6 to research, and then chose from those 5 or 6. And that's how I got to CCC. It worked for me, and I'm thankful that it did. It worked out well. So don't overwhelm yourself either.
yeah,
I imagine that you've just had that sit down with a lot of people on this particular call.
Good, good. I hope it works.
yes, yeah. Perfect. And what do you want to say to someone who is now a coach and they're deciding whether or not to sign on with a coaching provider?
I would say do it. I mean, if you're now a coach, I would say sign on with coaching providers. Make sure that the contract is clear, that you're still allowed to build your private client base as well, because you don't want to lock yourself in. You want to make sure that it's open, that you can work with multiple client providers if another one stumbles upon, which I have not found any of them so far that have really had that objection, because they know, there is a lot of cooperation in this. And find one that's 2 ways, because you're going to be engaged in a network, and you may come across a client that needs 10 coaches, and you can't be 10 coaches. And those providers are then your resource from them. Each one of the providers I work with provides something different to companies. So when I do have a conversation with a larger scale, and I start to sniff and think, they really need a program for their staff, not for their person. They need a program for their staff. I know how Coach 123 could benefit them. I know how my other providers can benefit them. And if it fits, then that would be the provider that I would send them to.
Nice. And now, what do you want to say to somebody who's looking for a coach?
If you're looking for a coach, it's like shopping for college again. No, it's a little bit different. Shopping for tutors. Ask yourself, who do you mesh with? Who do you engage with? What type of person Am I going to relate to more? Is it male? Is it female? Is it outgoing? Is it direct? Do I want a coach that's going to be hold me accountable? Do I want a coach that's going to be caring and loving and what is it that you want to do? So that would be one. Second of all, be completely honest with yourself. Are you looking for a coach or a therapist? Because there's a huge difference between the two of it. And so, if you're going back, if you're thinking about fixing something in the past, you need to go to a therapist, not a coach. If you're ready to think about what your future is going to do and do some vision planning and some vision casting, then coaching is for you. So that's part of it. What do you want to pay? What's your budget for it is gonna be good. And then I would say look for people who have been who have had coaches. Find out what they love, find out what they like, find out if they've got recommendations for it. If you are a solo person, go find yourself an independent coach if it's really easy to find. Find somebody. Do you want to see them in person? Do you want to do it on the phone? Do you want to do it in Zoom? Coaches deliver differently. If you're a company looking to engage with coaching, you want to look for a company with a stable of coaches. That's going to be key. The guy that you're meeting, if you're an HR director and you are wanting to institute coaching in your company and you meet a solopreneur at a chamber function, they're depending upon the size of your company, they may not be able to provide the level of coaching by themselves. So you're going to want to ask, are they engaged with a larger network, larger organization? Could they deliver 10 coaches? Probably, if they can, they're going to introduce you to a coaching provider. If not, if you don't have that in, start searching for coaching companies, not coaches, coaching companies, and then you can get in because they'll lean on people like us who are solopreneurs to fulfill your needs. Did that answer the question?
That was fabulous. That was great. So, closing thoughts or message?
Oh, I would close and say coaching is extremely rewarding. It is extremely hard to only coach. Like any other profession, there's a small percentage of people who are doing it at the high income, high only level. I only coach and I get paid really well and I coach 8 clients a day and I do that. There's a whole lot of people below that are coaching in a lot of different methodologies and a lot of different ways and in part-time and full-time and 3/4 time. I have another business I subsidize with my coaching. It keeps me interested in life. My wife and I are working together on a marriage coaching type thing that we do. So, we've got these different ways which keeps our life interesting. So it's super rewarding, but build it inside your life that you want to do. If you're going to be helping people design their life, start by designing yours.
Nice. Well said. And
thank you.
Kirby, where can people find you?
Find me on LinkedIn. I'm right here. It's pretty easy to find it. Kirby, my full name is Kirby Kirkpatrick. There are not a lot of us out there. So if you Google me, you will find Kirby Kirkpatrick pretty easy on LinkedIn and also on Facebook. I'm on all the socials. No, I'm not. I'm only on those 2 socials. I don't.
Awesome. Thank you so much for everything you shared. And of course, we do invite everybody to also come visit www.coachcert.com for the Center for Coaching Certification, and then www.coach-123.com for the coaching provider. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, good conversation, and everybody make it a great one.